Hey guys, welcome back to Budget with a July Dreamer. My name is Miranda, and in today's video I will be sharing with you my 2021 spending overview. Ugh. Okay, so I literally cannot believe that I have spent the amount of money that I spent in 2021. I sat down a couple of days ago, pulled all the numbers from my monthly trackers, looked at my notes to explain why I was spending so much money, why some months I got more money than other months and all of that jazz, and I'm just like, wow. Like literally, whoa, so many things happened in 2021. So many wonderful things, so many not so wonderful things happened, but overall it was a great year. So in today's video, I am hoping to share with you how exactly I spent my money, some of my sources of income, how much I actually brought in the year 2021. So stick around if these types of videos interest you. If you're new to Budget with a July Dreamer, like I said, my name is Miranda, and on this channel I share everything personal finance. I cover budgeting, saving and investing. If this topic's interested, then please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into today's video. So I have my trusted notepad here with me where I have written down some notes. Then I have my laptop right here with me, which I'll be sharing my screen and walking you through my entire annual tracker so you can see what I'm talking about as I mention some of these numbers. But before we get to the tracker, I wanted to share some of the notes that I've noted down. One thing that you would notice is the fact that for the first 3 months of the year, so Q1 of 2021, I had debt. So I had my Peloton bike, I had my car loan, and then I've included credit card in there because the expenditures that I was putting on a credit card were not things that I had budgeted for, so I was considering that as debt. So I had debt of over 12,500, and I will speak about that in the budget tracker when I start sharing that with you. Then for fixed expenses, I couldn't believe this number, to be honest, but I was able to spend over £22,000 when it came to fixed expenses. So fixed expenses included things like my mortgage, where I spent over £8,000 to pay for my monthly mortgage, and then I paid over £1,000, almost 1,500 in extra repayments. So I sent almost £10,000 towards my mortgage in 2021. Then forgiving, this actually makes me really happy because I am in a fortunate position and I'm very grateful for that. So I believe in tithing and giving. So I'm happy to see that the most thing that I spent money on was on giving, and I spent over £4,000 towards giving to other people, whether to my church or other organizations that I believe in. Then my life insurance, so this life insurance covers critical illness, disability, job loss and what have you, and I spent a whopping over £2,000 on that. Streaming services surprised me, and I've noted this one down because I spent over £800 on streaming services. I know I have said many times I'm not giving up my Disney Plus, and I am not, but it was kind of just quite interesting for me to see that I spent over £800 on streaming services. So we shall see what 2022 looks like, but this was pretty interesting. And then another, not little, but non-consequential, I don't think of not that great importance, is the fact that my council tax, so my local tax, was just under 1,500. So I mean, we gotta pay taxes, right? I have good roads in my area, good services, local services, because we are contributing this amount of money towards those services. So I'm not too mad about that. Variable expenses, let's take a moment here to recognize the fact that I spent over £33,000 on variable expenses. And I've got excuses for everything. Like my father says, I have an answer for everything. So I will give you an answer where I spent that amount of money. But the biggest ones was the fact that I got tax bills at the beginning of the year and later in the year. I renovated my entire garden, so I put in a new decking, flower beds, I replaced my entire grass area. I put artificial grass, so that cost money. I had some incredible trips last year where I spent a pretty penny, and I don't regret any of that. So there is that. And also I bought a rental property, so I'm not surprised that I spent that much money. And then I did throw about £1,000 towards my birthday, so there is that. Then for savings, I think if you've seen my annual savings video, you know that I saved over £25,000. But that actually, when I look at my tracker, it says I saved more than that. But when I think about it, saved and then spent, and what I shared in that video is only what I was left with after all of the spending and what have you had occurred. So if to my investments, I was glad to see that I'd sent over £8,000 towards my investing in the stock market. So this really made me happy. But the biggest expenditure, in my opinion, for 2021 was the purchase of my rental property. So now that you have the high level information of where most of my money went, I will move over to my laptop now, and then I'll start my screen record and I'll walk you through. So one thing I want to make a mention is the fact that I'm not going to be going line by line every single item in this annual tracker, but I'll be doing month by month and showing you like where the most money was spent. So let's start screen record, and then I'll go over to the tracker. Make it a little bit larger, so I'll shrink myself to the corner. So for the month of January, I brought in over £13,000 in income. So this is salary, side hustle, savings, all of that jazz. And like I said, I'm just going to focus on where most of this money went. So total expenses, I spent less than 1,400. Variable, this is where I spent over £8,000, and this is because I've put this under miscellaneous, but I did get a tax bill at the beginning of the year. It was over £5,000, and there were other things that happened in January where I had to splash out money on. So this is where I was able to spend that amount of money, and at that time I had debt, so I sent about over £500 towards debt. I didn't have any sinking funds at that time, so I didn't send anything, and then I sent over almost £3,000 of what I earned towards my my savings and investments. So because I follow a zero-based approach, you see here it's zero because I spent everything. Well, not spent, but I allocated my money to various things in my life, even the tax, you know, which I didn't expect but happened. I'm just glad that I was in a fortunate position where when the tax bill came, as surprised as it was, it still didn't catch me off guard, and I was able to pay that off in January itself. February, I brought in almost half of what I'd earned in January, so I earned over £7,000. Not too much of a difference for fixed expenses. Again, I spent a little bit more in miscellaneous, and for the month of February, I can't really remember exactly what I spent on, but I think it's related to my rental property, and I was able to send over 3,600 towards my saving and investing. The month of March, it's the magic month. I love this month. I brought in over £22,000 in income, and the majority of that went to, I'm trying to see where that money went. So over 5,000 of that I put in my savings and investing. So my miscellaneous did get a chunk of that because of my rental property. Actually, no, in the month of March and May, it was towards my garden and other home stuff. So that's where that went. But if you notice, I sent over £11,000 towards debt. Now, I had a loan for my Peloton bike, so I decided to just clear the entire balance. Then for my credit card, I had spent frivolously over the previous month, so I decided to just clear that balance. Then the bulk of it went towards my car loan. So it was when I started to educate myself and the fact that I didn't want to carry any more debt, I decided to raid one of my savings accounts and just send that money towards my my car loan, and I paid off my car loan. So that is exactly what I did for the month of March, and this is the last time you see debt. I mean, you see road tax, it's not exactly a debt, but I always counted it as a debt, so this is why it stayed in that category. But for my current budgeting, you would see it in my variable spending. So yeah, this is how I manage my money for the month of March, and that was, I think, my largest income for the year 2021. In April, I earned over £8,000, sorry, and I sent a lot of it towards both fixed expenses and variable. expenses, and then I sent over £4,000 towards my savings and investing. And this is when I believe I started getting serious about saving £10,000 towards my emergency fund. So that is for the month of April. Then for the month of May, I brought in just under £15,000. I spent my usual for fixed expenses, and I was able to send £8,000, over £8,000 to variable expenditure. And part of this, I believe, over £6,000 went towards my garden. The other amounts went towards my rental property, paying the lawyers, and all of those added expenses. So it wasn't fun, but it had to be done. So I spent over £9,000 in variable expenses, and I sent almost £3,000 towards my savings. For the month of June, I brought in under £9,000, spent the usual with respect to my fixed expenses. Not too bad with respect to my variable expenses, but the majority of the money went towards my saving and investing. And I'm starting to notice a trend here that I was sending a lot of money towards my saving and investing. If it wasn't for variable expenses, you know, things like my tax bill, doing up my garden, paying for the rental property, I was sending quite a lot of money towards my savings. For the month of July, I brought in just over £7,000. Fixed expenses, normal stuff. Variable expenses, so for variable, I sent at least, I think, over £300 towards my holiday. I believe this went towards my holiday, but the majority of it again was towards my saving and investing. For the month of March, I brought in over £9,000. Not much of a difference for fixed expenses. I sent quite a bit towards my variable expenses, and the majority of this was, I think, paying for a future holiday, and some of it was paying. I remember I paid, what else did I pay for in August? I actually cannot remember, but most of it must have gone to paying off my future holidays. So I spent over almost £3,000 in variable expenses, and I sent almost £4,000 towards my saving and investing. And then if we look at September, I brought in just under £7,000. Nothing fancy dancing for fixed expenses, no for variable expenses. So the majority of my money went towards saving and investing. October, under £8,000. Nothing special for fixed expenses, nothing special for variable as well. Again, same theme. I sent a lot towards my saving and investing. And then November, I brought in just under £9,000. Actually, I don't even know if my screen was showing for these other dates, but hopefully it was. £9,000 for November, and nothing special for variable. For my miscellaneous, this is money that I spent towards my holiday. I went to the Maldives in the month of November, so this is not just all holiday, but the majority of it was to the holiday and other stuff. So I sent over $2,500 towards variable expenditures. Then when it comes to my holiday, to my savings, I sent over £4,000 towards my saving. And then the final month, the month of December, I brought in just over £7,000. Nothing fancy dancing for fixed expenses. A little bit more than usual for my variable expenses because it was Christmas, and most of it is money that I'd already saved up. So this is why the numbers are a little bit higher than usual, but I did manage to send over £3,000 towards my saving and investing. Now, the most interesting part that I'm sure you're all watching is how much I was able to bring in the year 2021. In terms of income, I was able to bring in over £121,000, which I'm surprised because I've never been able to earn that amount of money before, or have I? I don't know, to be honest, but it was really incredible to see this amount, this large amount here. So like I said, my mortgage, I sent over £8,000. Extra repayment, just under £1,500. Council tax, I sent under £1,500. And then my TV license is under a 140, and the biggest one that I mentioned earlier is my life insurance, which cost me over £2,000, but everything else seems to be just fine. The biggest one of note is obviously my tithe and giving, which came to over 4,200, which I'm very grateful for. So for fixed expenses, like I said, I sent over 22,600 towards my fixed expenses. Then my variable expenses, I sent over 33,800, and then when it comes to my debt, I sent over 12,500. If we look at my saving and investing, I sent over 49,000, just under £50,000 went towards my saving and investing. And then, you know, zero-based budget means, you know, income minus expenses equals to zero. So yeah, so this is where my money went. Like, I cannot believe how much money I was able to bring in for the year 2021. Can I replicate that in 2022? Who knows? Hopefully. And I'm surprised about how much I spend on variable expenses, but things like my life insurance actually stood out to me. I am doing my remortgage coming up soon. I'll see if I can change providers, because that's quite a lot of money, to be honest. And other bills, I'm not too surprised. I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to be able to give as much as I gave last year. I would like to continue that in this year as well. So I think that is it, really. I have learned a lot about budgeting in the last couple of months being on YouTube. I've learned from a lot of people how they do it and have adapted it to what works best for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.